Good morning, gearheads, and welcome to episode 4 of Phil's Garage. I'm Phil, and we're back in the garage. This is the day. Today is surgery day, inventory day, tailgate day. We've got the tailgate from the Jimmy right here. We took it off last episode. Now we're going to dive into the internals of the tailgate. We're going to rip this cover off. We're going to look inside. And we're going to compare everything we've got to the LMC truck catalog. And we're going to start going down the list. And we're going to make an inventory of everything we think we're going to need. That's going to be step 1. And then we wallet whip LMC truck. They send us a whole bunch of parts. And then we see how they fit, see if they work, see if they don't, see what we forgot. Then we'll start putting it all together and convert this from a power window to a manual window. Alright guys, we've got all of the screws around the outside of the tailgate cover removed. And when I say all, we maybe had to remove 8. In total, they're supposed to be 16. And all of our screws were pretty mismatched and pretty ragtag. But let's get this cover off and let's see what we got. Alright. The cover's not in the greatest shape, but it's not in the worst shape. You know, we're not going to try to take it back to original, so we're just not going to be too concerned about it. We'll probably just repaint it. So now we are into the tailgate. So at first things that we can see our control arms here and here. That's what happens when you pull the tailgate. Those two are pulled towards the center and they activate the latches at the end. Also right here you've got your tailgate motor. You can see your wires coming in and you can see this blue cable right here coming out. That cable will actually turn and power the regulator that's back here behind the glass, and that is what will move the window up and down. Now because we're not connected to a power source, we can't get that window up and down right now. But what you can do, and I'll go into more detail of this when we do it, is you can undo this from the motor, put it into the end of your drill, and use the drill to actually power the window. The next step is going to be rolling the window up, and then I'll show you how we're going to remove the window so that we can get into the meat of everything in there. One thing that's going to be worth noting on our tailgate, things that we're going to have to fix and replace. I don't know if you can see, but this side of our handle, something got broken. Anyways, we're going to have to replace the handle because it's just bent all to hell. So like we said, the next step for taking apart the tailgate is going to be removing the window. And in order to remove the window, we have to remove this piece from the window motor and actually manually move the window up so it can be removed. And now we're going to do that by unscrewing this plastic piece that connects it to the window motor. And as you can see, you've got a little square head right here. Now what we're going to do with that square head is we're going to take a drill bit, put it into that drill bit. Now let me move this cord out of the way. Okay, so moving the drill having the drill in a direction like you were screwing it in moves the window up. Having the drill in a direction like you were screwing something out moves the window down. So let's stop here and let's talk about this. So what we see right here is as the window moves out, you can now see the rail. Move it up a little bit more. You can now see the rail into which the window actually sits. So the window is glued into this metal rail right here. and there's a piece below it right here that there are 2 screws in. I'm going to have to back it down. But if you remove those screws, allow you to, so if you remove these 2 screws on both sides, it'll allow you to slide the window regulator out of that piece, and the window will then be free to be removed. Oh, how lucky is that? We're going to determine that that bolt is a 7/16 inch size. Now, unfortunately, you can easily get to this bolt, but there's a second bolt kind of underneath this piece right here, so you're going to have to get in there with a wrench and get it loose. So I've got a learning moment here that I want to talk about. So if you look at the window regulator, what you'll see is that this window regulator arm right here has this piece here attached to it. Let me slide it down so you can see you've got your 2 bolt holes. Now this is where that bolt actually screws into. Those nuts are built in. Now the bolt goes through this piece right here and bolts into here. So when you undo those 2 bolts here and here, and just the exact same on the other side of the tailgate window, now at that point the window is free to move. And actually, if you notice, this piece is free to move as well, which makes sense because you've got a little plastic wheel in here that it'll have to move just based on the way that the window arm works. However, this is another teaching moment. So we tried to pull the window straight out, but what we found is this weather stripping right along the edge that keeps the rain and the snow and the general gunk out of the actual tailgate mechanism. That's preventing the window from actually going up. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll the window mechanism down, slide the whole thing as far down as we can, remove the weather stripping, and then we can move forward. Now, let me mention, if you're going to try to save this window stripping and reuse it, don't use pliers. You see these little clips right here? That little piece that sticks out right there just slides down into a notch. See if I can show it. The lighting's not very good. I'll have to show you better on the bottom piece of weather stripping. But these little clamps will just line all along here. So if you just get it started here and you just pull it out, pull it out, pull it out, pull it, pull it out, pull it out, pull it out, and work your way down. Alright guys, there you go. Top weather stripping's off. Those pieces are off. I want to make sure I show you the notches I was trying to tell you about. So I want you to look right there. Those little notches right there and right there line the tailgate. And the little piece, that little metal piece, simply slides up and under that notch. And that's how it holds still. Let's take the window out, shall we? There we go. And just make sure you've got a safe place to put this. It finally came in. Our first order of parts from LMC Truck. So let's get this bad boy cracked open. Okay, here we go. We'll go into more detail on what we actually ordered. Here, for those of you who are interested, we'll go into more detail about exactly what we ordered from them, but here's a list. Here's their invoice list. Oh, yeah. It's going to be hard to see. Let me see if I can get this out of the paper real easily without losing anything. Ah, yes. This is our window crank. So I've never had one of these, so I'm not exactly sure how... Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, yikes. So it pops up there, and then you can open and close your window manually, like that. So, and then the locking unit will go right in there. So, do not close gate with glass raised. Thank you for that. Insightful stuff. Okay, our brand new manual tailgate window regulator. So, we made sure that we definitely wanted to order our parts and get them in before we started tearing that thing apart, so that, you know, as we took a part off, we could look at it and compare it to our new part and say, ooh, we need to take this off the old one and put it on this one, or I don't know if this is really going to fit, or this is such a good idea. So now that we've got our parts in, we'll go back to the tailgate and start pulling parts off. Now that we've got our parts in, we're going to dive back into taking the tailgate apart. Our first goal is to take the window regulator out of the tailgate. Now the window regulator, as far as we can see, is connected by a bunch of bolts that are 7/16 of an inch. Four bolts. That was it. And it looks like the window regulator is free. Now, before we start trying to just rip everything out of here, we got to keep a couple things in mind. First of all, it's going to be connected to that cable that runs from the regulator to the motor itself. And we also expect it to be connected somewhere else, because I know there's some latch work that goes on in here that keeps you from opening the tailgate when the window's open, when the window's up, and it keeps you from rolling the window up when the tailgate's open. So we're going to look around down underneath this plate right here before we start trying to rip anything out. But that was just the four 7/16 inch bolts. Before we move on, I want to mention our organizational system for all the bolts that we take off. If you can see here, we're taking everything off. I'll get the glare off of y'all. Taking everything off, and we're putting it in Ziploc baggies and immediately labeling as best we can where it came from. Look for any other connections, but honestly, all we found was those four bolts and this cable, and that's it. So let's pull her out. Oh, before we do, we're going to remove these pieces here that attach to the end of the window regulator. These are the pieces that actually bolt. This is where the bolts at the bottom of the window actually bolt in, one right here, and there's another one right over here. And that's what connects the window regulator to your window. Okay guys, and there it is in all its filthy glory, just covered in dirt and muck and grease, and it's gone. We're going to do this job as if we were just removing the electrical components and converting it to manual. Once we show you how to do that process, and we know for ourselves that everything fits, everything works, everything functions, at that point then we'll tear everything apart, and then that'll be more for the guys who are trying to restore their tailgate or repaint their tailgate or replace all the components to their tailgate. So if you're just trying to convert your window, so far it seems very simple. That window regulator came right out. And based on what I've read and what I can see as far as spatially, it looks like it's not even necessary to remove your electric motor. Now that we've got the window regulator out, you can see underneath this flap right here, There are a couple bolts, and by a couple, it looks like there should be a couple. It looks like there should be a couple, but we've only got one that's actually holding some of these exterior pieces on this side of the tailgate on there, where your key actually fits in. Okay. So guys, if you're looking at the piece right here where that little square is, right there, that's where you're going to see the flap, and you're going to have to push down on it before you can pull that plug out. So yep, that's it. And like I said, we had one bolt still attached here. Second one, not so much. Okay guys, in the LMC truck catalog, this little diagram right here, everything in this box, you're going to have to buy everything in that little box to convert it to manual. And then on top of that, the only other thing you're going to have to purchase is the manual window regulator. And that should be everything you need. There are just 8 parts right here, and we're going to focus on putting these together and installing those on the truck. And then we're going to get it connected to the new window regulator when we install it. Okay. So I'm just going to take the bolts or the nuts. You want to come around this side? You bet. Sorry, dude. And screw them on there. Yo, you hold that. We have been messing with these parts for the last 30 minutes trying to figure this out. So let me show you how to do this. We're going to flip this piece over. You're going to see this notch.
Can't see it.
You're going to see this notch right here. Right there. You're going to take this piece. Thin side, fat side. You'll notice on the thin side, there's a little hole for where that spring's going to go. So we're going to take that spring and we're going to load it into that hole. Then we're going to take that piece and we're going to make sure that, see how it's kind of, it's kind of a little C, like that. The C needs to point towards the outside of the car, towards the key mechanism. So we're going to load it into that open notch in the back, and you're going to compress, you're going to jiggle it around until it gets, and you're going to compress that spring inside there. And now you're going to have to jiggle it, but make sure that the back edge of that little clamp, of that little piece we just inserted, is resting all the way up against the inside of this ring. Okay. There you go. And then, sorry for the bad angles, but you've got to be able to compress that piece down all the way in, compress it all the way down, and then slide your key mechanism in, and you'll see it seat. You see, if it's not seated, there will be a little bit of space right here. It won't seat all the way down, but now it's fully seated in there, and then you can see as I work the key mechanism, you'll watch this piece go up and down. Last piece is this piece right here. That piece, see this little notch right here? That will go right over the top of that piece that we just inserted right here. And it doesn't matter if it's unlocked or locked, if everything's on there correctly. So you'll put it down, and then you'll notice if the key is on there, this will catch and will spin as you crank the lever. But if you unlock it, then this can spin freely, which means that anybody can come and just try to undo your window as much as they want, but it won't actually move the window itself.
Good Bob.
Perfect call. Perfect call, perfect call.
That's it.
The window crank on first before we put the regulator on. Because the fact is, these little bolts right here, to put them on the other side of the tailgate, the window regulator blocks it. So you've got to have that out. So don't do what we did. This is another example of learn from our mistakes. Okay. Okay. And that should do it. We've got the new window regulator installed. Now, let's take our crank and see if it works. Down. Yep. And back up. If we were just going to convert the tailgate to manual, that would be the end of it. We don't have to remove the window motor. We don't even have to remove the wiring harness. We don't have to remove anything. At that point, all you would do is you would go and you would reverse your previous steps. You would install your guides onto these wheels on the end of your window regulator. You would put your window in, you would bolt your window to those brackets, and then you'd be back in business. And then it would just simply be about putting new weather stripping on the top. Now that's one thing that I don't know. If you're talented, you might be able to get some of this weather stripping out without damaging it. Remember to get your window in before you start trying to reinstall the weather stripping. Made that mistake. So yeah, your brackets, your window in, bolt it to the bracket, roll it all the way down, put your new weather stripping in, reinstall your panel, and you're good to go. That'll do it. Now that we showed you how to convert your electric tailgate window to manual, now we're going to go ahead, we're going to remove the regulator, we're going to remove the new crank, and then we're going to start pulling the entire thing apart so that we can get it ready to be sandblasted and get it ready to be painted. We've found a local shop here in town that's willing to do it. It was actually very interesting. We had a hard time finding somebody that was interested in painting. Most of the paint and body shops that we talked to only do insurance type claims or fender benders, things like that. And they had no interest in being part of this project. They just, some of them very politely said no thank you. Some of them said don't bother me. But we did finally find one person. We'll do an episode with them, talk about their company, do an interview as we go up there and talk about the paint options, the steps we're going to go through to get this ready. We're going to be into this episode because we want to make a separate episode just for converting the tailgate from electrical to manual. Now, on next episode, we'll talk about pulling everything apart and getting it ready for paint and body. Guys, one last note. If you're going to convert your tailgate window from electrical to manual, and that's your only goal for the project, do not take it off of the vehicle. Leave it right on the vehicle, because that's the perfect place to work on it, because it'll be suspended out there. You can work underneath it and on top of it at the same time. It'll lay flat. Don't take it off. It's just a pain. We took ours off so that we could show you everything in better light, in a better environment, and take our time and be out of the weather. But for you weekend warriors just trying to knock this out quickly, it's not worth your time.